Welcome everyone to episode 5 of the Dragon Review. Today we're going to be reviewing episode 7 of The Wheel of Time, the penultimate episode of season 1. Just to go over spoiler policy, we're not going to be covering any book spoilers here. I will talk about a few changes that have been made, but not in a way that will kind of spoil the story going forward. Kyle and Christine are here with me as always, the Malones, and they have not read the book, so they are only up to date with the show itself. So we will be covering full spoilers right up to and including episode 7, and talking about theories going forward for episode 8 and into the future seasons as well, obviously. I'm glad that you're back listening to us again, so let's get right into it. First of all, I'm going to pass over to Kyle just to let you know about where we are, what we do, and why we do all of this. So Kyle, over to you.
Thanks, guys, for joining us today. Make sure you're checking out lrmonline.com. Our main website, Genreverse.com, is also there. They both go to the same place for now. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. I'm sure you guys are really excited to hear what we have to say this week, given that this week's episode. But you don't want to miss anything else, so hit that subscribe button. Leave some comments, recommendations, things like that. Follow us, the LRM Genreverse Podcast Network, wherever you get your podcast from. Great shows like the Cantina with Star Wars news, anime versal reviews, doing Miyako-chan, Daily Cog, and more. And then yes, social media information's down below, and we're sponsored by Grow Generation, where the pros going to grow. More on them later in the episode.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Kyle. And you kind of mentioned YouTube comments and things like that there, and it's probably worth starting off here with there was something you noticed a few weeks ago, Kyle, which was that a lot of people were watching one of our episodes at a very specific point, and you were wondering what it was that people were interested in. And I think now we know the answer to that question. So we'll get to that as we get kind of further into it, and we'll talk about what that was and what, because I did, pick up what people were saying about it, but just couldn't say anything at the time, obviously. So, Christine, we're going to start with you this week in our usual kind of format. So, episode 7, take it away. Let us know what you thought and what grade you give it.
This episode was... God, I mean, I suck at guessing, I guess, because I had so much wrong. And then I took a guess at who was the dragon, and I was right the first time, but then I changed it. And it's like, you should always just don't change your answer. Just stick with your gut instead of, screwing things up.
They did keep giving you moments, though, that they deliberately did that, give you moments to throw you off the scent, didn't they? That was clearly a purpose of the way they were putting this kind of series together. So don't feel too bad about it. I think in terms of who it was online, for people that hadn't read the books, it was a kind of tie between Pern and Rand, actually. So you were very much not alone amongst the people out there that hadn't read the books. So anyway, carry on.
Okay. It was good. It was surprising. I don't know how you want to go step by step on it, but
whatever you want to say, really,
okay. The relationship between Nynaeve and Lan, weird. I guess because it feels rushed. I didn't really get that build up, of where it was leading to. Yep. So to me, it was like, I'm kind of not feeling like this is the right spot, but okay. So there was that, and then something else that kind of was a little confusing is Nynaeve was the wisdom from her town, but there's been some things where it's kind of like, that's not very wise. Like some of the things that she says, where she's supposed to be, a voice of reason, but she still kind of has that young mentality. Angst. Yeah. So it was kind of like some of the things that she said, like I figured she would be like, for the greater good, we really should just do this, when they were all talking together. But instead she was like, I still don't trust you. And it's like, but really, why? She's risked a lot. You can tell that Moraine has done a lot, but I don't know, I still really like her though. But there's some things about her where it's just kind of like, you're a flawed character, and thank you for not being perfect.
True. I think, Nynaeve is a flawed character, and she has her own journeys to go on as part of this story as well. And she doesn't start in a place where, despite her title of being called Wisdom, is she the most wise person out there? No, I mean, she was in a little backwater village. She was young for being a Wisdom in the first place because the previous one had died. So, there's only a few years really between her and the other guy. There's only maybe 4 or 5 years between them. So she is still, got a long journey to go on, I believe.
Yeah. And then Kyle mentioned the whistle when they were
in the ways.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, shit. I was wrong about that too. Because I figured he was probably more like a gray character. And now it's kind of, to me, looking more like not. So I was like, okay, another strike on me.
What's funny is right before that happened, no joke, in my mind, I'm wondering if Pat and Fane followed them into the ways. And then I hear 5 seconds after that thought goes in my mind, you hear the whistle. I'm a son of a bitch.
Kyle's always right.
Did you see
no,
I'm not
always right.
That one shot where it just flashes and you just see his outline as well,
Yeah, and I was trying to see who it was at first to see if it was like Matt or someone like
I get
walked
that.
him in.
Yeah, I get
that. But
no,
it was just him. But yeah, it was a weird random thought.
Yeah, and I was also kind of with the dark wind going through them and their thoughts. Like, to me, it would have been like, I know to ignore that. It's just my fears, but it really affected them all. So, of course, there was a lot of tension between the characters in this episode. So I thought that was kind of like, I don't know. For me, it was just more like, you should know not to listen to it. Maureen told you, ignore what it said. And so there's just some things where it irritated me a little. And then, I'll just leave it at that. There's just some parts where I was like, okay. But I did like Lan's background. I did not see that coming. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Right, the whole sort of king of a kingdom that no longer exists, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Sorry, when you go.
Follow up with that. No, you were asking the question. I was just kind of following up with.
Okay, then go ahead and ask your question. What's up?
I was just going to say, what grades would you give it then overall?
Remember the cool action scene at the beginning? Yes. That was fun.
Yes, it was really cool. I'm going to give it a B+.
B+, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Kyle, what did you think?
Ooh, so I don't want to crap all over it because it's still an okay episode, but you can definitely tell that some editing choices could have been better, and we've discussed this in past episodes where you're like, it's supposed to take them longer than it seems from the Shadow Place to the White Tower meeting and all of that, and the little snippets of hey, maybe Perrin or Egwene have something for each other is so brief that we just kind of glanced over it, which I can see why you brought up that question that week. But they didn't give us enough there for Rand to hear the voice of, hey, dude wants your girl. She left you before. She'll leave. Like, we didn't get enough, like Christine said, build up for the tense moment where Nynaeve accidentally kind of says too much. For that to really matter. So it was very jarring. And again, with the Nynaeve and Lan bit, when she's following him, you're kind of like, well, why is she following him? Well, she's got a crush on. Where the fuck did that come from? Again, it was kind of jarring. And sure, when you look back, you can kind of think about moments where she listens a little bit more to what he has to say, or listens to what others have said after he says something to her. And you're like, okay, so maybe I guess, and I don't know if the book really gives more context before these events, or if these events are even in the books similar at all, but it was jarring just from the show. If you look at writing these types of things, you would have preferred some more stuff beforehand for those moments to be impactful, especially because we spend some time with that stuff. You know, we spend some time doing that not. It was very, very jarring. The action sequence in the beginning, that was kind of my first hint, but I was like, wait, they haven't really shown Rand, to do anything too spectacular so far. And maybe this is his spectacular moment to add to the confusion. And then what a cool action sequence, and way to go, badass mom. No, fuck, baby.
That was my
favorite. Something I want to add.
Well.
Like when I was watching that scene, it was just like, as someone who's been pregnant before, there's no way you could do that. So, you know, like, I don't know where you're from and you know, like, what you are, but dang,
the Amazon.
I mean, because I think that's the point of it's hyping up the Aiel a little bit, isn't it? You know, because what you're seeing here is a woman that was 9 months pregnant, and she's an Aiel, and she's still kicking ass, and I think that does hype up what we're going to see from, like, the non 9 month pregnant Aiel when they eventually sort of show up, because I think, you know, they've done too much with them for you to say, oh, well, we'll never see those people again. You know, that doesn't feel as if it's going to happen. They've mentioned the IEL quite a few times. We had the guy who was killed, and remember Matt and Tom took him down, and, you know, and obviously they've mentioned the hair a couple of times, the red hair thing, and obviously that was the link into Rand as well. So
so I really like that, and when you see that and it's like, oh, it's Rand's mommy, and you're like, okay, that's kind of your first, like, they're gonna go that route. The moments with the lady that could see the future, so to speak, do they give more context of her ability and limits in the book, or is it just literally exposition like it was here, to where you don't even know what she can and can't?
Right. So sometimes she sees something and she knows what it is. She can decipher it really easily. Like, this person's going to die with an axe in their head. You know, that's what's going to happen. And if she sees something, it always happens, right? But she can't always decipher what things mean. You know, so sometimes she sees stuff and she says, "Here's what I see," but I don't know what it means. And of course, you may find out what some of this means as you get to various points in the story. But, you know, so she does make a lot of predictions that are true early on in the story of the books as well, but you don't necessarily find out why till much later on, because she doesn't understand it.
Yeah, that's what I figured, where it's like she needs time to maybe digest what she's looking at, because it's like you may not, like, you can read something or you can watch something, but, you know, a little later on you're like, oh, I just now realized this. So I thought maybe that's why, and then seeing him again, you know, maybe just being exposed to Rand again, it's like, okay.
Well, I thought it was interesting that it looked to me as if she saw the stuff she told Rand she knew already, but she, for some reason, didn't tell Moraine about that. She told Rand himself what she was seeing, but all she told Moraine was the whole thing about him holding a baby.
Yeah, and I think that's mostly due to her needing Rand to come to it himself, because if he doesn't, then, you know, if Moraine pushes, maybe things. That's kind of how I took it.
Right.
But that's also because I didn't understand the limits of her power. And I figured maybe she's got near omnipotence, you know, near perfect clairvoyance of some sort, maybe like dark magic can interfere, but she's
definitely got a great skill, but she doesn't always feel, there's no one to explain to her how it all works and what every sign means, you know, so sometimes she sees things and she doesn't know what they mean, so she's valuable, but only when you know, when people are able to interpret what she's actually saying is going to happen.
Yeah.
To be honest.
And then the stuff with Lan and his family is cool. I would have almost preferred a little bit more info about the blight. You could have, you know, done something where Nynaeve doesn't quite grasp all of it, so she asks, you know, maybe passes off, hey, this is what I've heard about it. Can it be really that bad? And that way we could get some clues about what that is, because it looks like a blight, you know, death across the land, but it's like an overgrown death. It's the creep from StarCraft. And then getting to, you know, Rand's big, this stuff in the cave is cool, like that. We already talked about Pen and Fane, so yeah, the Rand thing. Just like I said, you know, before, just based on what you see in the show, it's kind of like, yeah, that's the safe choice. That's the, you know, knight in shining armor. He doesn't seem to have any flaws or anything. That would be boring. But I always did say the books are not the show. Execution matters and how it lands. So from a just purely TV spot, if there was no books, yeah, this would still be very, very disappointing, because you're like, God, lowest hanging fruit, but it's got a source material, so of course I'm willing to see how it lands. But it almost makes me curious to go. Unfortunately, because of some of the things we've discussed here, like the dagger that I know goes further than book one. I don't even want to read book one immediately after this, because I'm afraid it might give some shit away.
I think it would be more the opposite. No, you'd be absolutely fine reading book one for yourself, right? Because book one won't go beyond. I think it might explain a few things a little bit more clearer, and that's all. One thing you would find in the books, for example, is that the dragon has to be a man, right? It was a kind of strange change they made that in the show, but I didn't want to talk about it before. In case, because you know, you don't know where they're going to go with it. But the dragon, when somebody's they can't really change sex when they get reincarnated. It's all reincarnation. So if the dragon was a man previously, it has to be a man the next time as well, kind of thing. That's the point of why it's so dangerous. You know, that they've got these people out catching male channelers, yet at the same time, they know the only person that would have the power to be able to fight the Dark One is this male channeler, and he's going to be presented with the same problems that all the other male channelers are, is that the side and their half of the source is tainted, it's corrupted. So the more he uses it, what's going to happen to him potentially is the same as what happened to Logain or the guy that we saw at the start. They can just go absolutely batshit crazy. And that's a dangerous thing to then put in the hands of this super powerful channeler, if you think about it.
Yeah, and like I said, everything's gonna matter. The characters as they are now aren't the characters they will be. Hopefully, good growth and all of that for both in the books and going forward in the series. So overall, I'd give this content is probably like a overall content would be an A minus, but execution kind of bumps it down to a B. It was really jarring, and not necessarily their fault. It's the way you structure the show, but yeah, execution wise, it's a B.
Okay, doke. Before we go on to my thoughts, we'll take a break from our sponsors and let's hear what Grow Generation have got to say.
Take it away, guys.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. The Grow Generation commercial team is armed with industry-leading professional consultants. Grow Generation's team will help you fully manage any size or scale project. They offer turnkey facility designs, cultivation room design, and on-site project consultation. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
Welcome back. Thanks, Grow Generation. So, my thoughts.
No one cares.
No one cares, yeah. No one cares. Probably don't. Most of the people that watch this are probably watching it for what you two think rather than me anyway at this point. But you know, I'll jump in anyway. I gave it A- because thought it was a really good episode, but it had one big glaring flaw in it, which I think was just a really bad decision. And you guys have talked about it as well, and I think it flung the episode in the wrong direction, and that's the love triangle between Pern and Egwene and Rand. Mm-hmm. That's not something that's in the books, right? And what makes it more annoying is, unless they completely change the rest of the story from this point out, right, Pern and Egwene don't actually spend that much time with each other from this point on. So it's not like something that they're going to come back to and have going forward. It wouldn't work unless they, as I say, I could be wrong and they completely change the story, but I just can't see how they could do that, because then they'd be so far off the story you can't get back again if you like. I just don't see the point of it, and it was 100% the worst thing in that episode. I don't think they sold it well. There apparently was cut scenes from episode 1 that went into that a little bit more detail, and I kind of hoped at the time they realised it was a bad idea, and that's why they cut it from that point of the story. I don't get it. I don't get why they've done it. It doesn't add anything to anyone's characters for me.
Without giving away who, because it might be important to the story, is there a romance thread through this, like a couple or thruple, whatever the case may be? Is there an actual romantic thread, not just hookups and things like that? Is there some big romance through the series, maybe later in the books or anything?
Yeah, there's various characters will have going forward romantic things happen.
So maybe
some of them might work out, some of them might not.
Right.
But I don't want to give too much away.
Right,
on
exactly.
That
Was there?
But yeah, there's some emotional development for all these characters going forward, and new characters to come in.
Was there a lot of that in book 1 or not? See, that's what I'm thinking. Then is they wanted to maybe lay down some tracks for romance.
That's why I think they did the Lan and Nynaeve thing. Yes, Lan and Nynaeve do become a couple in the books, right? But it was jarring in the books as well, because I think one of the things that Robert Jordan wasn't that great as was building up these romances. A lot of the stuff tended to happen off page, and then suddenly a character will be together and it's other people commenting, hey, I didn't see that coming. That's one of the styles that he uses a little bit with Lan and Nynaeve, so that you can see some of the signs when you read back, but they're quite subtle. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they're together, but they don't get together this early in the books. Not by, you can tell there's a mutual respect there at this point, right?
Which we would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Nynaeve's got more time for Lan than she does Moiraine, for example. And you talked about Nynaeve's not that wise. No, she's not that wise. She's just lived in a village the same as these. She doesn't know anything about the world, and she certainly doesn't understand the power that she has, because she's never used it before. That was her first time realising properly that she could channel and watch, and how powerful she was and everything like that. So, and she's got this bad opinion of Aes Sedai, which you remember the story of her own wisdom that taught her, who apparently went to the tower and get turned back. Now, it's a theory. My theory is it wasn't because she was poor or anything like that she get turned back. It was because she wasn't strong enough. So they saw you can channel, but you're quite weak in the power, so you're no good to us. You'd never pass the training, and they've just sent her away. Whereas they wouldn't, as you can already see, someone as powerful as Nynaeve, they want her in the tower, you know what I mean? And they want her training up, they want her as a novice. So that, there's this whole opinion of the Aes Sedai that she's got that's, I don't think, necessarily what they really are. But what I love about Nynaeve is that although she learns and she grows, there's a stubborn aspect that just sticks with her. and she's very much of her own mind, but she becomes more wise, you know, and her decisions become better as time goes on sometimes as well. And I think that's the same with a lot of the characters, you know, in a big story like this, they're all going to kind of grow through time. But yeah, the whole love triangle, I think they did Lan and Naive just a little bit too quick. I kind of get why they did it. It was a little bit too quick for me, but I just despise the love triangle. And I think if just took that away and give them other reasons to be against each other at that point, you know, the whole who's the dragon thing or something, it's quite easily to write round about that. And I just hope they see the feedback for that and go, okay, we'll just, that's it, it's over. Because Perrin basically shuts it off when he says, look, I'm not interested, that's it. You know, he kind of says that at that point. And knowing that they don't spend that much time together, I just don't see it going anywhere anyway. So hopefully that's just nipped in the bud. But it will be a sore point because I think this could have been one of the best episodes if they hadn't tried to shoehorn that in. And I loved so many other things about this episode that it just felt like a shame to me, to be honest. Yeah. I know I still rated it an A+. I think it's because the ways looked really cool.
I mean A-.
They
said A+.
I said it. I meant A-. Yeah, I didn't. It's not an A+. No. Sorry, but you know, I actually worried that they'd spent too little time in the ways. But at the same time, for what they do in the books, it would have been really hard to not be bored walking through there, just doing nothing for you know a whole episode. So kind of the fact that they got to Fal Dara quicker, I think, was actually a benefit. I'm not sure if I like Machin Sheen, which was a Dark Wind, better in the books or better in the show. I have to kind of think on that a little bit more, but you know, no biggie really. But I loved the whole kind of dragon reveal, the stuff we ran. There was a couple of things that they obviously show you that were from, in his point of view, you would have saw the actual threads he was creating, you know, the weaves. Like when he breaks down that door. So all the book fans knew, well, he's broke down that door that only 3 men could handle because he's using the 1 power. But because you saw it from Dana's point of view, you never saw any weaves. You don't know. That's the whole point. You know, they're kind of disguising it. And then I was pretty sure when that Trolloc get blasted that it was Rand as well, because Egwin's like, I didn't mean to channel, you know, and she's the one that's got a bit more control at this point, so she's not really, like Nynaeve doesn't control it, but Egwene's got that bit of control at the moment, so it's unlike her to just lash out with the power, so I felt it was kind of Rand at that point as well. What I really loved was when he was shooting the arrows, and he's missing like crazy, and then he just starts like hitting them all by on the target. And of course, the power can help with stuff like that as well, big time. So yeah, I kind of liked it. But there was also, I wanted to mention, there was a couple of things that probably you missed along the way as well. These are really hard to spot, though. A couple of like Easter eggs. One is when Moiraine is way back in episode 2, Moiraine is healing the horses. She's like giving them healing. She leaves Rand's. She doesn't touch it because she senses it doesn't need it. Why? Because he's been healing it along the way. Then in the previous episode to this, she remarks upon how Matt really should be dead by now. He's got some strength in him. What's been keeping him going? Again, you can't see it, but he's been sitting at Matt's bedside. He's been healing Matt, you know, as
knowingly or unknowingly?
Unknowingly.
Okay.
He didn't know he could channel. You know, it's only really at that point that he's starting to realise he can channel. You know,
when all the channeling we see looks like telekinetic and psychokinetic to people in world, that those are visuals just for us. Channeling doesn't create visible things.
And correct, right? If you are a channeler, right? If you are a female channeler, and like, so if you were a female channeler, Christine, and I was a female, I'd be able to see any weaves you do, and I'd be able to look at them and go, oh, that's an interesting weave, and even copy it, right? But you could never see Kyle's weaves because he's a man. In fact, you can't even sense that Kyle is channeling the power properly unless you were shielding him and he's pushing against it or something like that. Men can feel women channeling, but they can't see the weaves. All they feel is a tingle. They feel a tingling sensation, and it kind of gives them somebody's channeling, you know, but they don't know what they're doing with it. you know, and that's how that relationship works. So yeah, when we as the audience have been seeing it, it's
Rand,
been
not Matt.
Exactly. Logain is laughing because he's been stilled at this point, which is the only thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit. In the books, he hadn't been stilled yet, so he still had the power, so he could see Rand and just sees, haha, they're captured me, and look at this guy I can see up here who's basically shining like a beacon.
Yeah, so, she has to deal with the boy. Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, you know, I really enjoyed the way they revealed Rand, but just to kind of the whole Tam fever dream thing, right? That happens in like chapter 2 of the books, and that's what I was talking about. How you know Rand's the dragon in the books really early, because when Tam gets injured and he's telling him about the boy that he found in the, you know, if that's in the first chapter, the second chapter of the book, you know where they're going with this after that, and then people keep mentioning, he looks like an Aiel, and it all starts to kind of make sense, and plus there's a few things in the books as well where you don't notice it at first, but when he gets ill at one point, you realise it's after the first time he channeled, he gets a little bit ill after that, you know, which is something that can actually happen. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few people that read the books and go, I didn't know who the dragon was till the end, but the majority of people that read the books know who the dragon is by like chapter 2, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you follow his story much more. It's all told from, you know, he's the main POV in that first book as well, which obviously just does make it obvious as well. But did it work trying to disguise it? I mean, that's the question I want to ask you, is now that it's been revealed who he is, did you think it was a good idea, they did the right thing to make you guess it, or should they have made it clear who it was right from the start?
I don't know. I like guessing games, so I'm cool with it. There was nothing that bothered me about how they did it. It's just kind of like, once I see it, it's like, shit. I saw it sort of, and then I doubted myself. So it was fun, you know, so I'm fine with it.
I agree. This was a fun little bit, and I like getting it in the second to last. Excuse me. Getting it in the second to last episode instead of having to wait, you know, for the final episode. Yeah. It's really fun when things aren't spoiled for you. Christine and I and Brian were talking about this on Animeversal Reviews, which you guys can get on LRM's YouTube channel and the Genreverse Podcast Network. We were talking about how we miss being surprised, and how, even though here, there, you know, I pointed out a few stereotypes of fantasy in general throughout this whole series, and then mentioned how Rand would be that. Even knowing that, I still was having fun with seeing these additional powers and the clues about, hey, the prophecy might not be as written, and not knowing the books and not having it be spoiled because I'm a avid reader of, you know, Marvel's comics. So you see certain threads, you're like, I know certain things, you know, are likely to
you
happen.
Remember things for the comics, and you think, they're going this direction. Yeah, sometimes they surprise you, but not very well.
Yeah, and I love being surprised. So I was kind of disappointed, only because of it looks like a very vanilla fantasy, you know, OP type character, but there's a lot that I don't know, and I've always said it all depends on the landing. Even Spider-Man No Way Home, I was very, very much against a lot of the things we saw, let alone things that we heard, but I felt they landed it. They executed it quite well. And so, yeah, I'm excited to go forward with this.
The thing with Rand is that, you know, I didn't love him as a character so much in book 1 either. I mean, you know, there's not a lot of development there. But once the weight of the world is upon his shoulders, you know, it's hard. You know, people are then in a very, very difficult situation. Plus, you've got the corruption, you know, as well. So he knows that, you know, he's basically destined to go mad at some point. So can he do what he needs to do before he goes mad? You know, I mean, he becomes a really, really interesting character for me. And and almost want you kind of liking it. And I don't mean by the twist here when I say this of Anakin Skywalker. So I'm not saying Rand turns into a Darth Vader or anything like that. What I'm saying is, a character that has all this massive power, but then is this a lot of problems and pressure put upon them as well, and yeah, I'll say no more than that. That's all I'll say.
Lots of opportunities to do some really cool, fun things and challenge the characters. I always love. I don't love it when you're abusive to your characters, but I do love it when you do take your characters and put them through hell to get them where they need to be, versus
fair to say,
just take the power and go.
Some hard times. That's all I will say. He does not have an easy time where, I'm so powerful, I can do anything I want. That's not how it goes. So it will be interesting to see what they kind of do next week, because here's the thing: in the books, they all go to the eye, even Matt, right? Yeah. So I don't know what the other guys are going to do this week. I could guess, I think there's going to be, personally, there's going to be some big attack at that Faldara, and everybody's going to be in a kind of big battle at that point. It would be my guess, while Moraine and Rand are off doing whatever they're doing, somewhere else kind of thing. I don't see the other ones kind of running after them, because that wouldn't really kind of make sense, I don't think, at this point. No. But I could be wrong, and they do run after them, because obviously in the books, everybody's there, but, I don't know, we'll see. In terms of what I wanted to kind of ask you guys about then, it's really about those other characters in, because it's hard to talk about Rand and where he's going, but what about the rest of the guys? Where do you see some of their stories going for here, if anywhere at all? And I mean, I'm not so much talking about the next episode, but where they go in the future. So your Matts, Perns, Egwin, Nynaeve, what is there any kind of paths or journeys you can see opening up for them at this point?
I think they're probably going to use the dagger as like a drug thing, especially since you had mentioned that he's not supposed to lose it until later. So I think we might see Matt go on some side adventure. Who would be his partner for that? I'm not 100% certain.
Or if he's going to be lonely.
Could he be lonely? I don't think he would be lonely, but Patton Fane is an interesting character to think, and because he has a lot of items too. So just saying. And then Egwene, I could kind of see her maybe trying to tag along more with Nynaeve because of the fact that she's not as powerful, and they could learn from each other. Maybe some of Egwene's temper can pass on over to Nynaeve.
Do you think they'll go to the tower for training, like Nynaeve and Egwene? Which is what
that would be smart.
I want them to do, but
eventually maybe we'll get a journey to there without the ways. I don't know. Right. Rand and Perrin, it's kind of weird, because you think of the ones that have shown power that's a little bit out of the norm is Nynaeve and Perrin, and we still don't know much about the why he can do stuff with animals. So,
and why it needs to be hidden, because that was like one of those things when I saw Egwene and Perrin together when they were trying to escape, I was like, you know what? If she got training, maybe he could be her warder, and that would be like really badass, because he's got this special skill. So to me, it would be
that's a possibility too.
That would be kind of cool.
Maybe later on down more books.
Yeah. So it's like, but then when you were talking, or not you were talking, but like Moraine was saying, don't tell anyone about this, and it's like, how bad is that? If you're on the right side of things, is it okay, or is it like,
maybe
no,
they
this
would
is
assume
terrible?
It was channeling and try to kill him or something. I
think Min is another one who they don't necessarily like to announce everything that she does, because not everyone would understand it, because it's not, neither of them are using channeling. It's not channeling they're using. And that makes people who think they know everything and understand everything afraid of the stuff that they don't understand sometimes, you know. And that's all I'll say really on that.
So, and as far as Rand, I'm guessing this attempted showdown with the Dark One, of course, is either how he gets released, like they trick him into releasing him themselves. He tricks them into releasing him there at the eye of the world, or he's already gone, and or you know, something. Regardless, I think you're gonna see Rand mostly on that primary mission, with his heart being tugged towards the people that he's separated from, sacrificing time and you know, precious channeling time, basically, before he goes nuts to not just help the world, but to help his friends. It's kind of hard to see exactly where each person will end up going into season 2, but that's what I kind of feel like. You're going to see potentially training, maybe even like Water, Aes Sedai teaming later. Rand on that primary mission, probably mostly with Moraine, and I would guess probably Perrin, but not. It wouldn't be impossible to see Perrin off with Egwene or even Nynaeve. So,
okay, that's cool. And I was kind of going to ask you that obviously the characters at the moment, Moraine is so convinced everyone else will die, and only wants the dragon to go because she seems to think this is going to be the last battle that they're headed to. Which, given that we're only at the end of season 1 and we know we're getting at least we're getting at least 3 seasons because they've already kind of been approved, but it should be going to at least 8 seasons. It's not going to be some last battle that we go to, is it?
Right.
So, you know, obviously, it's interesting to see kind of what then does happen next week. I think, and I hope that that you'll really, really like next week. I think I know what the cold open's going to be. I'm not going to tell you what. I think it may be the prologue of the book. So I remember way back in episode 1, I told you that the book starts with a prologue that's set much further in the past, right? And then it just stops. And you don't know anything. You literally don't have a clue what's going on at this point. When you read it, you're like, what? And then you start off with Rand and his dad going down for Beltane, you know what I mean, and talking on the road, and it just, you know, there's no explanation of it. And I always wondered, well, are they going? I hope they bring that in later on. And my guess is that that's going to be the cold open for next week. That they've brought it in because they were trying to kind of do the whole disguise the dragon thing and all that sort of stuff. So fingers crossed, we might get to see a previous dragon, even which would be cool.
Fight from the Snow Mountain with Rand's birth, is that part of that prologue?
No. So that's actually a story that we really get only from Tam's point of view in the books. We only find out a little bit more about Rand's mum later on. But I can see why they brought that in at that point. But just before we finish up, I just wanted to say how much book readers love that bit, by the way. Everybody loved that. It's called The Blood Snow, right? This whole kind of period.
Awesome on Snow.
And I just love how shit hard the Aiela, you know, because they're some of my favourite characters, and I just can't wait till people will actually get to meet them for real. So hopefully we get to that point eventually.
That's cool. Lots to look forward to. So what's going to happen? How's this season going to wrap up, do you think? Best guess?
Already said.
Did you already say?
Yeah, they're going to get there. I'm feeling real potential. It's a trap to get the Dark One released.
Oh, you did say that, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But potentially it's one of those situations where he's already been released and has laid a trap himself, something like that. And you'll see, I think I said this a couple weeks ago, that people will be on the board as far as where they're going to be at, who they're going to be with. So some of these offshoot stories we might see, that might be coming into picture. But I think the big deal is it's a trap or it's a trap. basically it's a trap to break the trap, or it's a trap to get the good guys. So.
Christine, do you disagree with that or agree with that?
I have no idea what's going to happen on their end. But I like your idea about there being like a fight with the ones that were left behind. That might be a possibility. Because otherwise it's just like they're just stuck there. It's like, okay, well, what do we do now? And there needs to be something.
Yeah. I suppose they could go running after them, but I just
maybe go.
If you were going to do that, why do the whole leave them alone at the first place? It kind of wouldn't have made much sense to me to do that if they're all just going to end up in the same place anyway. But maybe that's just my weird way of thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe I don't know when they're going to meet up with Matt again. Probably season 2 because he's leaving the actor. You said
who
so
knows?
We probably won't see it this season.
Unless there's some stuff they shot which they bring in just to kind of let us know he's not disappeared forever or something like that. Because he's definitely. He's been recast, so he's definitely coming back in season 2. But I don't know if we'll see anything from him next week or not. Guess we'll find out.
Yep.
So, all right. Anything more you guys want to talk about this week?
I had a question, but I know you're not going to answer it.
What's up with the baby? Answer it. I said I way. Which baby?
That vision that the bartender lady had. So it's like Rand's holding a baby. Yeah, and it's like what?
Interesting.
So like that's what I want to know. What's up with that? Because it's like that's odd.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not 100% even sure on that myself as what they're maybe hinting there. There are possibilities that I can think of, but I'm not 100% sure. Whereas some of the other stuff she saw was a bit more, I kind of know what that means. Some of the stuff she said that I could definitely, for example, she sees 3 gorgeous women around them. I can't answer any questions on that because I know what they mean by that. But I'm not really sure on the baby one, so I guess we'll have to see what they do with that. Yeah,
because I was like listening and I was like, okay, I'm trying to take all this in, and then it's like there's a baby in his arms. Why? So it's like, is Egwene pregnant? And I don't know. So it's kind of like one of those like that'd be kind of weird. Awful timing.
Guess it would.
Considering this is season 1, so it's like, I don't know.
Don't know if they'll bring this in to the show because this is like medieval times, so people didn't really have contraception, but they did in the Wheel of Time universe. They had this thing that a woman could drink. It was like a tea, and it would stop her from getting pregnant. So that's a little bit different that you would get in most fantasies where there's kind of no contraception.
How progressive.
I know, right? But, this is, remember, a time beyond an even more futuristic time than ours. Do you know what I mean? And then beyond that again. So there's like some things that might have lasted, but some things have disappeared in that space of time, I guess, so... but I don't know if they'll get into that obviously and explain any of that in the show, because why would they need to necessarily, unless somebody kind of starts moaning, why are all these people not having babies? I don't know. But you never know. They're not to say that there's no going to be any babies along the way. At some point there's always babies born. Okay, anything else you want to ask before we wrap it up?
No, that was it.
I think next week I hope that you'll all be really excited by the episode. Really love it. I think it's going to be quite a spectacle. So I'm really kind of looking forward to that. And that will obviously be our last one for this season. So we'll discuss it then. And in the meantime, thanks everyone for listening or watching. Thanks, Kel and Christine again, because it's you guys' opinions that really everybody's here to listen to. And just from me,
laugh at.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
That's the point, I did say I was going to bring that up, that previously you guys had said you'd be disappointed if Rand ends up being the
Well, he said he was going to be disappointed. I was like, maybe not.
People then obviously pick up on that book readers and go, hey, listen to this, you know. And apparently I looked as if I was dying inside when you said that. But
I said really something. I didn't remember what it was. No, remember I even told you on Slack. I was like, I saw you looked odd at something. I couldn't remember what or when.
I did, but maybe I did.
I'm way too
hard. So as you guys are
work on your poker
really
face.
Disappointed if it's Rand, and I'm shit. I want to get into season 2. I'll come back for the Dragon Road season 2. Yeah, Christian and Kel are no longer here. They didn't like season 1, so it's now a solo show. I didn't want to get to that point, but here we are anyway. So yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll catch back up again next week. We'll get to discuss the finale. Thanks very much.